Congratulations on the tribute,
Thank
sir.
you.
What does it mean for you to receive this award in Morocco and at this festival?
You know, I will say honestly that there's something mortifying about receiving an honor, especially funnily enough, especially here because I was in a room of such extraordinary filmmakers and actors, directors. But I guess as it turned out, I fell out of the sky into being the one who received it this year, and it's done in such a lovely way here that I suppose if I could pay a film festival a compliment on honoring someone's career, it was the least painful it could have been.
I think it's useful sometimes to begin at the beginning. So I'd like to ask, what drew you to the cinema and to acting in the first place? What were the first films you loved, and what inspired you to take up acting?
Well, strangely enough, because I grew up in a family of actors, both of my parents had been actors and had some success. Ultimately, my father, as his opportunities were rising, was blacklisted in the United States and was not allowed to work for 5 years. So in that time, having been a kind of depression baby and by then having his first child, my older brother, he erred on the side of caution and started to take whatever job he felt was going to be most consistent. And what ended up being for him was in directing, and he spent most of his career directing episodic television. So I was around that. My mother lamentably gave up with a great talent her acting career once he got going, and favoring to just be an at-home mother, but later going back to acting in her 60s and into her 80s. So it was certainly in the house, and also one had the opportunity to visit sets, kind of go to work with dad days and things like that. But it never occurred to me that I would want to participate or would participate. Somewhere in high school, I decided that I'd found my calling, and that was to be a criminal defense lawyer. What I forgot about while I was reading a lot of books by great legendary criminal defense lawyers and reading a lot of law was that I had a series of about 6 subjects I was ignoring and had to beg with welled eyes to graduate high school, which meant that there was going to be a lot of recovering academically if I was ever going to get into a decent school for law. And I'd had my fill of school. So what now? And what had happened is that in my senior year, my younger brother, Christopher, who was 5 years younger, he started making Super 8 films, and that was right about the time that you could get Super 8 film with sound strips. And you had the Kodachrome and the Ektachrome, so the Ektachrome was kind of a high-speed film you could shoot at night. And watching he and his friends make these little movies got me very interested. And I didn't like where they were positioning the camera, and I ended up, offering to or pushing into stepping in a little bit, which they enjoyed because it took the responsibility away from them. They just wanted to act and have a movie end up made in the end. And so we made a whole slew of movies. And still not thinking this is what I wanted to do with my life, but I was starting to feel that I enjoyed directing. But directing meant finding people who believed in you to the tune of, at the very least, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and generally millions of dollars. And I didn't understand a world where there might be anyone that would trust me with millions of dollars. And so I found myself open to acting as I don't know if I consciously thought of it as a stepping stone to directing. I really don't remember, or if it was just I wanted to be in the storytelling one way or another. And one day an actor named Anthony Zerbe came to school for career day. And he was very impressive. And I remembered the boots that he wore, which I forever associated as actor boots. And I went out and bought a pair of them, put them on, and said, okay, I'm an actor. and then got involved with a repertory company soon when I was 17. I graduated at 17. As I said, barely graduated at 17. And just started working in the theater, both, you know, from set building to ticket selling to lights to sound, everything, because you had to do a year of that before you could perform in this company. And then started to perform with that company and others, and eventually made my way to New York and sort of stumbled into a leading role on Broadway that led to opportunities in film. And somewhere along that road, I became, I suppose, obsessively in love with what I was learning about the craft of acting.
I'm afraid we're running out of time, but I feel we should look at the clip from the very beautiful Into the Wild and have a very quick discussion about that, and then we're going to conclude. Let's have the clip from Into the Wild.
Thank you for sharing everything. And I'm from China. I'm very happy to have this international film festival and then bring all the people to here. You talk a lot about actor and writer, director. You are also a very good producer. We got lucky to watch the movie September 5th in AFI Fest. It's the movie that you produce. I want to know, as an upcoming producer in the future, I want to know what compels you when you chose a project like September 5th, and you might produce more movie. And what's your goal? What's your standard on this picking project? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, so September 5th, when two partners and I started this little company a couple of years ago called Projected Picture Works, because our effort is going to be mostly with younger directors, where we feel that we can give them more freedom than they might find somewhere else, that we can protect their control over the film. And also that our principal effort will be to make films that will end up on the screen. You know, ultimately, streaming is going to be necessary with it as well. But, you know, in our own little way, to try to preserve this aforementioned girl I'm in love with. And so we started talking amongst ourselves about the kind of films that we wanted to do, and when it came to, which were going to be character-driven mostly, and you know, and fall into what we had found was our kind of common taste. That screenplay, fortunately for us, came across our choice desk. We all read it, and then once we and it was a story I had followed when it had happened, when the athletes were taken hostage and killed in Munich, and I thought it was not only brilliantly told, but because we know there have been films about this event, but never from the perspective of those who were covering it, and the way it's a kind of commentary, which I try not to comment on in what way, because it's clear to see when one sees the film. The way that moment affected how we get our news, and what the dangers are to and from the Fourth Estate with this. So then it was just sitting down and meeting its director and feeling immediate faith in that person and saying, let's go. And I hope you all see it. He's made a really sensational movie, September 5th.
Let's thank Sean Penn. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Thanks all of you for being here with us.